Hopefully you've had a fantastic race build-up. You've got to the final few days and you don't want to make a mess of the big day. Watch today's video, take some notes, get a really good carbohydrate load and routine structure into your days leading into the race and give yourself the best chance of having a great marathon. Well done with your training, now get the carb loading phase right. Alright, so you might have started your taper phase. You might be looking at, how do I fuel for this marathon? What do I do? Do I deplete my stores? Do I do some form of carb loading process? What does it look like? What should I do? The interesting thing about carb loading is you can absorb about 400 to 500 calories more than normal, which isn't a lot. Some people think carb load and they think bowls and bowls of pasta, and they do that for 3-4 days. The danger with doing that, this is new knowledge to me. When I started working with Super Sapiens, I learned loads. Super Sapiens couldn't tell me how many more calories that I could absorb than normal, but when I started to notice the impact that loading carbohydrates has on the glucose, it's no wonder with 3-4 days to go, when I would normally start my carb load process, that I would feel So what most people tend to do in those final 3-4 days, maybe you've done some sort of depleted routine, and I don't want to start interfering with what maybe a coach has told you to do. I'm telling you what I've learned and what I do. I've learned that I don't deplete. I used to, sort of go through a stage where I would not eat carbs for 3-4 days. I would do a heavier training session. I would pick up little colds. I would pick up little viruses. Stress is already at an all-time high. It didn't work for me. What I do now, and where I was going with the 3-4 days of carbs and the impact on blood glucose, when you start to feel shit, because all you're doing is nailing carbs, it's because your blood glucose is going up, big crash down. Blood glucose up, big crash down. You're pretty much rocking your system about 6-7 times a day. And then you're not doing anything, so you're feeling lethargic, you're not training much because you're tapering, you're eating all these carbs and it's throwing your blood sugar all over the place. Your blood sugar was likely already all over the place because you're stressed about this next marathon. Have I trained enough? Have I got everything done? What about that little niggle that I'm feeling? Glucose, glucose, glucose. It is a roller coaster and carbs are not helping it. I'm not saying don't eat carbs. I'm saying what I have now learned to do is still stick to the basics. I need to have my vegetables, I need to have my fat and protein, and then the carbohydrates. I also aim for 10 grams of carbs per kilo of body weight. For me, that works out about 680 grams of carbs, and I only do that on the final 2 days before the race. The rest of the time I just eat normal. And the reason I eat normal is because I'm tapering and I'm training nowhere near the same amount as I normally would. And so my carb stores are already gonna be in a much better place than what they normally are under full training. I also hate the feeling of just bathing in carbohydrates, pastas and breads, and I just think it makes you feel terrible. And when I'm on the world circuit, I only ever notice the likes of the African athletes and the best guys in the world, they're only really eating a little bit more those final 2 days, or in some cases the final day, and it's not as much as I used to think you have to eat. I mean, I used to think it was for 3 days, pizza for lunch, bowl of pasta for dinner, extra bowl of pasta, and do that for 3 days. And it's no wonder I was feeling tragic. So don't go mad with your carbohydrate load, and You can go for a 2-day load and aim for that 8 to 10 grams of carbs per kilo of body weight. Remember that as you're absorbing more carbs, per carb that your body stores as glycogen, it stores water. And so don't be surprised if your weight starts to go up, but it's just water weight. But it also means that you have to hydrate more, you have to drink more. And if you're not drinking more, then you'll end up dehydrated. And so be really careful with that. If you go for a 2-day, like I said, your hydration, you should have already started 3-4 days at least to hydrate properly and fully. And that's drinking roughly, probably about a pint of water per hour, sipping on maybe some electrolytes or some salts in the water. But when you start the carb loading process, then you need a little bit more water because, like I said, the glycogen stores water, and if your body doesn't have the water, you'll end up dehydrated. Now, if you want your sleep to go well, then you probably want to stop your sort of carb loading process around 6 p.m. on the day before the race, right? And so what you might want to do, for me to get in my 700 grams, I broke it down into the hours that I was going to be awake. So 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and it worked out about 11 hours, and I was aiming for that amount of carbs every hour. And so there's different strategies you can go for. I now only do the 1 day before, and that's why I go for the 10 grams per kilogram of body weight. But if you still want to go for a 2 to 3 day, you can look into the research. I'm okay with just doing a day. Like I said, my training's less, I'm tapering already, my stores are kind of already in a good place. My training's probably gone from, by Saturday I've probably normally done 85 miles, 90. The week of a marathon I've probably done 30%. I think my store's already in a good enough place. I found I don't feel as lethargic, and I've never had a problem, especially with the way marathons are going and the likes of Mortan, and there's stuff out there now that, yeah, you can do really well if you fuel during the race and you have a sensible carb loading strategy. But be really careful with the glucose side of things. If you haven't already checked it out, go have a look. Explain to you what I mean about dressing the carbs, and that's the proteins and the fats. It's gonna stop these spikes and crashes. And if you've ever felt rubbish in those final 2-3 days, especially during the carb loading process, it's probably all gonna start to make sense. I hope that helps. Be sensible with it, be safe with it. Go for white rice, white pasta, things that are going to digest a bit quicker. When you're picking your proteins and veg to go with your carbs, probably don't go for the steak that's going to take a lot longer to digest. You don't want to be carrying weight on race day that wasn't necessary. So don't go mad on the vegetables, don't go mad on your fruits, but you can include some of the fruits as carbohydrate, like your bananas. They have carbs in them. So try to go for foods that are going to digest quickly but get glycogen into the muscles, and make sure you're stopping at 5-6 o'clock so that you've at least a couple of hours before bed to digest, to get the glucose levels stable and have a good night's sleep on that stressful night before the marathon. But I hope that helps, and good luck. I hope today's video really helps your marathon. Take these tips seriously and start to adapt a strategy that's going to help your marathon. This recording and lecture was taken from joggingroom.com. There's 60 lectures, 12 hours of tips. I'm an Olympic marathon runner, 209, and I share everything I know about running to help other runners who want to get better know exactly what to do with their time and effort. Go check it out. I think you'll like it, and you will get better at running. There's 5 main workshops: running specific, nutrition, recovery, strength conditioning, psychology, and how to plan your running better, how to plan race strategies, how to plan your year around training. Learn how to train like a professional, and when you want to get better, when you know that your race results have stagnated and you want to find that extra something to make sure that you keep progressing, in future you will know. I wanted to help all those athletes that really wanted to get better at running, but perhaps just weren't sure what to do. What makes me great at what I do isn't just the training I do, it's everything I do around the running. It's the support work, it's the pre-run activation, the warm-up stuff, the nutrition, how I get to race weight, sports psychology, how I deal with nerves, how I execute training, and don't dive into peer pressure, push too hard, do sessions too hard, do tempo too hard. I wanted to teach runners how to be better, and that's exactly what this course is. If you'd like to get better, check it out. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you absolutely crush your marathon. Take care, happy running, and be kind to yourself. Running is so hard. Pat yourself on the back, tell yourself how proud you are of yourself, and well done.